Coming up next, Rad Roach. Coming up next, a Kitty Bobo Show. Coming up next, Pig Goat Banana Cricket. Coming up next, Ferret and Parrot. Coming up next, Hero, 108. Coming up next, Sheep in the Big City. Coming up next, Breadwinners. Coming up next, Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. Coming up next, Wander Over Yonder. Coming up next, Over the Garden Wall. Coming up next, Victor and Valentino. Coming up next, 12 Forever. Coming up next, Flapjack. Coming up next, Laszlo. Coming up next, Captain Knuckles. Coming up next, Lumpus. Coming up next, Cat. Coming up next, Mr. Blick. Coming up next, Dog. Coming up next, Doug. Coming up next, Waffle. Coming up next, Gordon. Coming up next, Todd. Coming up next, Riley. Coming up next, Mauricia. Coming up next, Marie. Coming up next, Reggie. Coming up next, Maggie.